Order. Thank you for getting that started, Jessica. Let's stand for the flag salute. Goodness, and I forgot whose turn it is, so I'll just start.
The owl.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. So welcome. Do we have anyone on Zoom today? Not yet, maybe so later. So for announcements, I wanted to say that there's so much going on in the next month, and Kelly just sent out her newsletter today. So check it out. But there is an all-school assembly next week with some bird or something else coming in.
A Birds of Prey presentation. We were gifted a outside company is going to come in and bring in Birds of Prey and do a full presentation for the school. It's going to be really amazing experience for the students.
What
Really,
day?
really exciting. It's Friday,
Okay.
the day that is a snow makeup day. So it was
Yeah.
originally a non-school day, so a little incentive for folks to go ahead and come to school.
What time?
1 o'clock.
So I think that'll be really cool. If you've seen the one at the museum in the Dalles.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So I was just kind of envisioning that might be like that. Hi, Jennifer. So there's other stuff going on, spring break conferences and things like that. So it's going to be a busy month. I did have another thing. It's not really an announcement, but I noticed that ESD has sent a letter to one of our local school districts. I think it's Vancouver or Camas, Vancouver, because their budget is consistently, they're spending more than they're making. And I didn't know it, but the state rates us. And for example, Mount Pleasant is a 4.0 for 2 years in a row.
Nice.
And Vancouver was a 1.9 last year and a 1.5 this year. And if they're down like that one more year, they're gonna be in trouble. But I bet we're 4.0s. Do you ever see that rating?
I have not seen that reading yet.
I'll give you that maybe sometime.
I've never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
Me
either.
I mean, I want to pretend like I have and say, yeah.
Well, I think that's probably how we got our letter about 15 years ago. When we were using our savings to balance our budget every year consistently. So anyway, I thought that was very interesting. There they are rating us and we don't even know about it. A perfect score is 4.0. A score below 1.75 receives a financial warning from OSPI. So yay, Mill A.
So Mill A's on there?
No, well, no, this is this list is, I don't know why we're not on this list. But, we balance our budget every year. We don't use savings to balance our budget. And that's the critical part to make sure we do not use our, what I call savings to balance our budgets. That's pretty cool that they do that and that I'm sure 4.0, there's no way we could be anything less. So congratulations as we start our budget session for next year.
What is it called?
I just printed this one page off. I found it on the OSPI website.
Financial summary. What was it called? I was trying to look it up on OSPI.
So now by heading.
Financial health score? Financial health.
No, I just screenshot the one piece that had the ratings in it. So let's go over the agenda. And I believe that I have one item that I would like to add, and it can go down under 8 new business.
Under new business.
And that it could be 8A. And it would be 8A superintendent principal evaluation. I abbreviate that in a Super Pal eval. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add to the agenda or corrections or additions? Do you have anything,
Yeah, I
Kelly?
have an action item, accept employee letter of retirement.
Letter of retirement.
Action item number 9A,
Letter of intent to retire.
the staff member in retirement.
Retirement.
And we accept that as a board.
I think we listened to Kelly's recommendation in case there's some suggested or requested change of date or something like that.
Okay.
I do have one more that would go under new business, but I do believe it, is this gonna be under your report?
Yeah,
Cause I just wanna
you can,
briefly address that. So we'll do that under your report. So
sure, that sounds great.
you received, just this afternoon, a couple of hours ago, which Kelly forwarded immediately as soon as she got it from the union, their document as they have accepted it and are offering to us. So that'll come up under, superintendent report. Anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
I moved to remove, accept the agenda as written. And adjustment.
Pardon?
I move that we accept the agenda.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
I'll
Diane seconded. It's been moved and seconded to accept the agenda. So let's move forward and I will reach up here and make sure my,
No. We didn't vote.
Did
She asked, did we vote? We did not.
you vote?
We didn't
No.
vote.
You just gotta.
How come I do that every time? We get a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. All right, consent agenda. Let's review the minutes. You may not have had a chance to review them, so take a few minutes to go over them. Kelly, have you reviewed them? Is there anything in there that we didn't vote on that you thought we should?
I didn't
vote
see
on, or-
any changes. That needed to be-
Looks good to me.
Diane says it looks good to her. That really sounds good to me. Okay, if there's no discussion on that, we will move on to the AP vouchers. AP check register. Anybody have any questions on the, looks like we've got the normal stuff, a big PUD bill. Few things like that. ESD contract amounts coming in, some of those are quarterly and some are monthly. So we might not see those big numbers every time. The professional services software, would you remind me about that? Where are we at?
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
Chromebooks.
okay, okay. All
Did
right,
you get the crumb?
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, what else in a big number there? Not that just looking for big numbers is a good way to review it, but if you're in a hurry.
You just laughed, I get my brain. It's spinning.
There's also the check register that pays all the benefits. And then there is one for ASB Science Club. Payroll is, this month is the total of $114,301.67. How's everybody doing? Does anyone have any questions?
So is the invoice listing? Oh, I see. The last one is the separate one for the ASB
Right, yeah.
and clubs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a little, probably more line items than typical with the lock-in and clubs and stuff like that.
No, I just missed the
Busy-
last
busy
page.
month.
I was used to it like being mixed in, and I was like, wait, oh, it is separate.
It does remind me, Knowledge Bowl contest is this month too, isn't it?
This,
Another
yeah,
couple
state
weeks.
tournament,
Isn't that gonna be awesome if anybody's
Yeah.
going to the state Knowledge Bowl
I
tournament?
believe that is Saturday. That is this Saturday.
This Saturday?
We're here.
No, it is Wenatchee High School.
Pretty good record to have for the academy, as many times as our team has gone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As you see the trophies out there, like, hey, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. Incredible work they are doing.
Okay, any questions or concerns? All right, let's I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make the motion.
Okay, Bill moved. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Keith second. Is there any further discussion? So let me just kind of repeat to make sure the minutes are accurate, but the consent agenda consists of payroll in the amount of $114,301.67. Our AP vouchers for $34,453.52. Our ASB vouchers for $1,001.59. And our benefits vouchers for $158,439.10. And our meeting minutes of February 18th with no corrections, accepted with no corrections. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Bye.
I'll just pass this folder along for signature.
Were you in favor, Anita? Was that a final?
Oh, now what?
I said, were you in favor? Was that a 5-0 vote?
Yeah, silence is gold. Yeah. Yep, 5-0 there.
My J's, I should do it on like the bottom line. I don't read. Ricky used to do that. Every time. Yeah.
Did you ever find the rating thing on the OSB website or?
Well, I found that the Mount Baker is in binding conditions. Well, a few others, but I didn't find the actual ratings that put them in binding conditions.
I'm sure. it's
You know, that
fine.
could have come out of an article about the Camas School District, or whichever school district it is that has the low rating there. Not sure exactly how I found that. Of course, would you pass that down to Phil and Keith, please? But it is interesting that they are rating the schools, and I guess they don't tell you unless you're getting in trouble. In case anybody's wondering, I'd like to make sure that we can all give our attention to the public, so we don't open up the next agenda item till we're done signing the documents. Thank you very much. Let's go on to public comment. And you have our undivided attention. Thank you. Does anyone have any public comments? Well, fiddlesticks, nobody's on Zoom either. All right, let's move on to the budget report. So it's in your booklet under the tab. And what are we looking at here? Let's see,
We're halfway through the year.
that's what I'm wondering.
So
I'm just
50%.
counting with my fingers. We're 50%
We're
through the
50%.
year. Yeah.
And we're basically kind of more than that, because,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Salary
we're,
also dropping summer.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Front loaded
Expenditures.
expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Expenses.
I mean, we might have more than usual this summer, but, you know, preparing for supplies for next year, but otherwise, you know, there's way.
And our total is coming in at 47.94% for expenditures and 47.32% for revenues. I noticed the big item is the special ed instruction, and that's 100% reimbursable. Is that right? Special ed instruction? Or at least a percentage of it reimbursable, ESD, because I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, I can get more information before I answer that.
It's most,
It-
it's almost
I don't wanna
all.
say 100% unless I know.
Yeah.
for-
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it's
we write,
highly reimbursable.
do we write the payroll check for our person that's here all the time from ESD?
No, she's
Okay,
actually, our
she's
parent now is
actually-
actually,
Okay,
on the ESD payroll. Yeah.
okay. All right, are there questions on the budget? We also have capital projects, which has the money that we transferred over. At some point, we'll talk about making another transfer this year, perhaps.
Did we ever get that money from, timber, I guess? Or is it that,
Federal timber funds?
yeah. Did we
Let's
ever get
see.
that money and how much was it?
I don't know under which category it comes under on here, but I don't think it shows on here because we don't budget using it.
The budget report, yeah, the funds would, the receipts would show up.
It should show somewhere.
Yeah, we got like, what was it, 60? It was a lot last summer.
I don't know. That's what
Well,
I'm trying to figure out, how
I mean-
much did we get?
It shows federal
It does have,
special purpose,
it has a federal
Yeah.
special purpose amount.
So that'd
40
be,
to 60.
that we got 53,
Yeah, that would be.
we got 53.
Yeah, but we budgeted
Special
90,000 and we don't put a number in under the budget, do we?
no,
We leave it as zero because we don't budget
Usually,
with that
because
money.
it doesn't show up. what we
Yeah.
got.
So
So-
general purpose,
It's probably the
Zero.
general purpose, yeah.
okay, then.
And that
we have
usually
zero. Or-
comes in about this time of year or so, doesn't it?
I wanna say it was later.
Well, with the
last year.
budget, with the federal budget not, you know,
It's been all over the board, you know,
yeah.
we've had it like show up. Like, wasn't gonna show up, and then all of a sudden in like August, September, they approved it in Congress and it came
Right,
through,
so
it's
not-
like,
not
it's
in
very,
your-
it's very.
in Your school, yeah.
So unless it's in the continuing resolution, we won't see it show up for a while, perhaps. We'll have to see about that, so we don't
Okay.
really have a good answer for that. We don't know if we'll get any.
Well,
this
wait,
year.
I'm sure that's why we never put it, any dollar figure.
No.
In.
Yeah,
No,
cause
'cause
we've,
you can't
Correct.
count on it.
cause we've had years with none.
Right.
Yeah, if we did that, we would have years where we would have a lower number
Yeah,
on the
Right.
scale.
pluses and minuses.
You don't want that.
No, we don't want that for sure. Okay, any tidbits for us on the budget, Kelly?
No, we're
Okay,
looking pretty good. We'll be getting into the budget process soon. We'll need to start thinking about planning the budget workshop dates. But we'll do that here in a minute when we get into my report.
all right. If there's no questions, we'll move on to the Millay School, which is the elementary benchmark data review.
So just as a reminder, we're gonna look at school-wide data. Because of the size of our classrooms and we wanna be careful that we're only looking at it from a holistic view, so that we're not getting into any individual teacher or student information. So this is gonna be our winter data update. And this is quite a fun challenge to try to do both, so we'll give Jessica just a second here to figure out how to get it all going at the same time, because I wouldn't know how to do it, so. And I'll take feedback on the font color and size when we're done. Bye. Took some liberties today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you need edit access?
No.
Oh, no. If you wanna hit slideshow, I think it might make it a little bit bigger as you go through some of the upper right. There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so we'll just take a moment and talk about our enrollment data and who we're serving. Right now, we have a total enrollment of 43 students in our K-8, 13 students in the K-2 classroom, 14 in 3-5, and 16 students in our middle school. So-
I got a question for you. So I realize I'm colorblind, but your colors aren't matching up.
Yes, well, so.
It's equal, so it's.
The K2, it's in white on the, but blue on the pie. So it's the
Okay.
blue piece of the pie. It didn't look right in the gray, so there's my first piece of feedback on my colors and fine.
You should have just told him,
Yeah.
oh, you are colorblind.
Please hold on comment,
They
please
are,
hold on feedback on my font and color choices till the end.
they are the same color, you're colorblind.
You are.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Here's a long list of the assessments that we performed, just so that kind of get an idea of the scope of work that was done. Kindergartners were tested on letter names and sounds, phonemic segmentation fluency, and word reading fluency. At this time of year, we're hoping that kindergartners are reading whole words. First graders were also tested on that and passage reading fluency. Second graders were tested on passage reading fluency, word reading, and then proficient reading, which is comprehension. Third graders, similar, and then 4th through 8th are tested on their fluency and their comprehension. So that's a lot of testing for each individual student. So I have to give a lot of thanks to the staff for getting all of that assessment done. It was
So how many of those students have to type in and have answers where they have to type in the answers or
This is
write something?
This is all done, on paper,
Okay,
or, the phonemic is done, orally, where an assessor is working, sitting down with the student one at a time.
okay,
But the comprehension was done with the students reading a passage and answering questions. So this is quite a labor intensive process.
and next year's when we expect they are going to have to type in, write paragraphs and sentences. Utilizing the Chromebooks.
Depending on what curriculum we adopt, it
Okay.
could look wildly different next year for, third through eighth.
Okay,
In math, we use the iReady diagnostic, which is an online assessment tool. It assesses students in 4 different domains: numbers and operations, algebra and algebraic thinking, measurement and data. It's, the nice thing about the diagnostic is as students progress through it, it's adaptive. So if they get a question correct, it'll get a little bit progressively more challenging. If they get a question incorrect, it'll stay at that level, give them another chance at that same level. If they get it incorrect again, it'll drop down. So it's kind of ebbing and flowing throughout to kind of hone in exactly where their skills are. So students are told, like, you know, this test is really trying to figure out what you don't know. And so there's a little bit of a learning curve because it can cause frustration. As we're trying to like test them all the way up to their limit. So in year 1, we know that students are just getting used to the assessment and we really want to take that kind of into account. And we do a lot of like cheerleading and like really setting students up for success in the classroom.
But this system is still a way better system than what we used to have.
Well, I wasn't here for
Yeah.
what we used to have, but I will tell you that I'm a big fan of this system. I really think that, this is really gonna be good, solid data for us over time.
I remember the first adaptive test I took in like the late 90s, and it's like, you have no idea whether it's gonna be 13 questions or 35.
Right.
Until the system has a confidence that like, we have assessed you.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. And
Yeah.
this math is the iReady math program?
Mhm.
And so each of the children, as they do something, the words they learn regarding that will be the same ones they see as they progress through grades.
Yeah, so it, go back up, let me go back up. Just hit that up there. Oh. Well, now I can go up. That's okay. So part of the iReady system is that they're using also what's called MyPath. And so the lessons that they're getting are really similar to the diagnostics. So like the format's really similar and it's very academic vocabulary heavy. So they're getting used to using mathematical language and that's all going to show up in the diagnostic. And it's also showing up in their MyPath, right? And it's in the curriculum. So as the teachers are providing instruction, it's really embedded with math vocabulary and that's going to show up in the diagnostic. And then especially for like the younger students, there's like these little monsters that like show up in their lessons and it's really engaging. And then it's the same format for the diagnostics. So there's a lot of kind of parity that comes from using the same program. Will not let you go back up. Okay. There we go. Okay. So that's math. That's what we assess. So let's talk about the results a little bit. So for reading, the pie graph on the left is how our students came in fluency from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade, depending on what they were being tested for fluency on. So the blue is at or above grade level, the yellow is below grade level, and then the red is well below grade level. So you can see that our students are struggling a little bit with their fluency. So that is an area of opportunity for us. However, if you look at the graph on the right, that's talking about proficient reading. So how well they're comprehending. And really reading is about making meaning, right? So we have 47% of our students at or above grade level in comprehension, which is a really good number
Yeah.
at Winter. 32% are below grade level, so they're almost there. And 21% are well below grade level, so 2 or more grade levels.
So,
That's a lot better than what it was last.
It's looking
Yeah.
good.
so is fluency, is that include things like vocabulary, or what goes into fluency?
Fluency is really just its rate, and prosody would be kind of built into that, but we don't have a great measure for prosody. So the 5 pillars of reading are gonna be phonemic awareness,
Right,
phonics, and then fluency. Vocabulary would be separate, and then comprehension, right? So fluency is helping us measure their phonemic awareness and their phonics, and then their rate of speed.
that's,
And the reason that fluency matters is because your short-term memory can only hold so much. So if you fall too far behind in your fluency, it's gonna impact your comprehension. So while it's not the end-all be-all reading measurement, we do want to be mindful of it, but there are a lot of things that can impact fluency. But if a student's understanding what they're reading, that's really the goal, right? So it's kind of this balance, like, we don't want students to fall too far behind what would be typical in fluency, but really the goal of reading is to take words and make meaning. So this gives us something to consider in our instruction, but what we know is we're teaching students how to take words off of the page, decode it, and make meaning. So we've got really good
Yeah,
data
no,
to
that's-
work with.
that's interesting, right? It's a lot more, like, the old tests. You would have a difference of a student who got a bunch wrong, or one who couldn't finish the test in time. And the not finishing the test in time is gonna be the fluency versus like the comprehension. Everything they're doing, they're just doing it slower.
Right.
So
Okay.
we had a 3rd grader that was reading at the 2nd or 1st grade level, so they're reading a book. And those are words they can read, and they are understanding those words. And then if they were reading a 3rd grade book, they wouldn't be reading all the words, and so they don't understand. Is that a correlation between proficiency and fluency, or am I off base?
You're on the right track, but as far as the assessment goes, 3rd graders were given a 3rd grade passage.
Okay.
So, which means that we're doing a pretty good job of helping students who, even if they're reading something at their frustration level, we're teaching them how to pick out key information, how to like utilize text features, how to do all of those things to make meaning out of text. So if you're given a passage and you can't read all of the words, but you're trying to answer questions on it, can you use the words in the question to find the key details in the text? And then find that sentence and answer that question.
Okay.
You're still able to gain knowledge from the text, even though you aren't able to gain all of the knowledge from the text. So that's a skill in and of itself. So we've made great progress this year, and now this is kind of starting to hone us in on some of the things that we need to do and where we need to go. And there's a little bit further into the presentation, you'll see kind of what we did next and how it's going to inform our instruction.
Just looking at this, it looks like if you break it down, the older kids, they're learning. So your graph is gonna change. So if you take 6, 7, 8, I'm sure your graph's gonna look a lot better even. Because you take kindergartners, they're just learning how to read, so you're starting at the basics with the K 1 and 2. 3, you're now getting into an age where you're catching on.
Yeah, I mean, there's some to that, because like you're learning more about how to utilize text features and things like that, that would help you if you're lagging a little bit in some of the fluency and decoding skills. And I think when we look at one of the other tests we did, that might answer or speak to more of what you're saying.
Yeah.
So when we get to the core phonics screener, there's not gonna be any grade level information on it, but we can talk a little bit more about kind of that concept.
Cause this is all gonna be grade adjusted for expectations.
Yes, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how we grew, because really what also matters isn't just achievement, it's whether or not students are moving forward, right?
Yeah.
Because if we get a class that all came in above and they don't leave above, then we haven't done our job, right? So on the left is fluency. From fall to winter. I chose brown for fall and blue for winter, but that seems, I don't know, seasonal. So the first column, I'm just gonna get up because I think it'll be easier for this part. So this is this is fall and then winter. So our well below in fluency actually increased from fall to winter. Part of that is that the benchmark goes up, right? Throughout the school year, we want kids to be growing in their reading speed. So they might, in the fall, the benchmark might be 75 words, and in the winter, then it might be 100 words. So they maybe didn't keep pace with how quickly they were supposed to grow. So they fell a little bit behind. But so these two were relatively similar. So our students who were kind of on the cusp of being well below in fluency didn't make as much growth as they needed to. And so our slow readers stayed slow and our kind of slow readers didn't make enough growth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like you're kind of slow. There was a shift out of that, and some moved up into the better and some moved down into
Yeah. We didn't have a whole lot that caught up. We really struggled with making enough growth in fluency. So kind of, it's gonna guide where we need to go next. However, in comprehension, this is what it should look like. We went from well below being here and it dropped, below being here and dropped. And our at grade level in comprehension shot way up. So what we did is we spent all this time teaching kids how to make meaning out of what they were reading. And it's very typical for that to come at the expense of fluency. That's really, really common. So now we just need to help them do both. Okay, so our next steps are, we use the core phonics screener, which is the chart in the top. And what we did is we took every student who was below grade level in fluency, and we sat down with them for about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the student. And we tested them in all of these different reading skills, everything from letter sounds all the way up to multisyllabic words. And then scored them on where they were as far as their skill set. And then you can see the red is if they were below, yellow or well below, same kind of color concept, right? We used that to map out what they needed to be doing as far as instruction, place them into a reading program, and then this is kind of the growth that they've been. So this is something that we just did at winter, so we're gonna see a lot more growth before the end of the year. And that's one of the things that I wrote on my goal that we wanted to implement this year, because it took a lot of training and it takes a lot of time. So it helps us with our small group instruction be really targeted. We know exactly what skill a student needs to become more proficient. So if I have 5 students in a classroom who aren't fluent, I know if they are struggling with variant vowels or blends or multisyllabic words or digraphs, I can tell you exactly what skill is their first point of breakdown, and we know exactly where to start in our instruction. So that's going to help us with our title reading groups. It's really going to help us know exactly how to use our paraeducators when they go into the classroom, and it's really going to help us inform what we do with our reading instruction as a classroom.
That's absolutely awesome.
So any questions on reading? Okay,
Sounds good.
might have done a little bit of reading in my background, a little bit of passion behind that.
Catch up.
Can't tell, right? Okay, so this is the map. One of the really great things about iReady is that the reports are just done and ready for us, and they can be printed for at all sorts of different levels. So reports like this are available to be printed per student for families too, like at conferences. It's really great. These are a lot smaller than I expected them to be. I'm sorry. So these are the results same color code, right? Green is at, yellow is below, and red is well below. So at winter, we have 17% of our students in the red, 43 in the yellow, and 40 in the green. And then on the right, it's giving us a 5-tier breakdown where you can see, it's a little bit challenging to see, but the green stripes mean that they're pretty significantly above. And all the way on the opposite end means that they're even like pretty far into the red. So the breakdown on that is 21% are well into the green, 19% are green, 43% again in the yellow, 7% red, and 10% well into the red.
And what is the,
In the middle.
what is the selection of, is this all K through 8? I was trying to.
Yeah, this is everybody K-8.
Okay.
And so then this here is numbers and operations, algebra and algebraic thinking, measurement and data, and geometry. So we're actually really balanced as far as the different math domains, which is really impressive because usually measurement and data and geometry come towards the end of the scope and sequence. And the fact that our students are pretty much across the board understanding at the same rate those domains as well puts us in a really good position moving forward.
Well, yellow is at level, at grade level, right? So.
Yellow is 1 grade level below, but you have to remember we're in the middle of the year.
Right.
So if they haven't taught it yet.
Yeah.
You're like right there. So we really are just concerned right now about students in the red. And when we get to the end of the year, this is what we really are not gonna wanna see.
Yeah.
So like right now, yellow does not make my heart skip.
I'm just thinking right now, and actually, if we go by percentages, we're actually not looking too bad as far as the majority of the kids are going to get.
Yeah, our math instruction looked really solid, yeah. And then the next slide is our growth. And this is really, really impressive. Our teachers have not only implemented a new curriculum and are teaching math in a classroom with 3 different grades that all have different math standards. They're doing an excellent job. So our triangle is growing. So here was the green in the fall and it's grown in the winter. So the red shrunk significantly from fall to winter and the green grew significantly. It's easier to see on this one. You can see how much the red has shrunk. We are now at, it's 3 students down from 6. And the striped is 9 from 4. And the green is 8 from 6. So we've made significant progress
So
in math.
you made a comment. Is this like the reading where the expectations are changing from one test to the next throughout the school year?
Yeah,
So it's not just the normal growth over one season. The kids are doing better at higher expectations on this test versus the other test. Okay.
yeah. So we're making incredible progress in math in a year that we're piloting a new math program. Like, I can't express enough how challenging it is just to teach math in 3 grades in a classroom, let alone doing it with a brand new curriculum. Like, that tells me that not only are they working really, really hard, but what they're doing is really, really working, right? Like, this is really great growth. It's very impressive. So I hope that it's showing up in the data and I fully expect to see at the end of the year some really impressive numbers in math for sure.
That's right. From a colorblind guy.
I can see a lot of change already from what I used to do.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. So next steps in math, we're gonna continue to use iReady MyPath. It's differentiated instruction that's personal to each student. It's based on the diagnostic. Our teachers are doing a really great job of using that in their lesson planning. It gives each student an opportunity to have lessons that are personalized just for them. We're going to continue to have paraeducator support in the classroom. That's been a really important component, especially in our middle school, where the math is intensely challenging. My favorite thing to do in there is to go in there and be like, oh, what are you learning? Because I can't actually talk about all of it. I sometimes just ask them as my teacher trick for like, you tell me, because I have no idea what you're doing. I don't know the last time you guys have tried to do 8th grade math, but it's really, really hard. So the students are always happy to explain it to you, and they're very good at doing exactly that. And then we have been using, we call it WIN, it's what I need. Part of the schedule to do math interventions, so that students who need additional support in math are getting that. And so we will continue to see growth. This chart here is showing how many of our students are making what they would call typical growth. So one of the things that iReady does is it will chart out where students start the year and what would be expected of a student with that placement on the diagnostic. And it will say this would be what typical growth for that student would be, and then this would be stretch growth. So right now as a school, we have 71% of our students already at typical growth for the year. So that's pretty impressive. We're doing a really incredible job. And then I got this, and then this is for stretch growth. And it's I'm not sure I can do justice quite explaining exactly how that graph is broken down. So I'm not even gonna try because I don't want to confuse you, but we have several students who've also made stretch growth, their entire year's worth of stretch growth for the year. It's not the way I usually look at the report. I usually look at it at a more individual level. So are there any questions about math?
Yeah, what are the issues you're having trouble with the students? Just kidding.
Huh? What math issues am I having trouble with?
When the students explain it to you.
Transfiguration and,
Dilation.
yeah, Miss Manning can attest to how hard 8th grade math is. I'm not the only one who sometimes has to go, cause you need a minute. Like, you
Well,
need a
you
minute
can
to like
do the
remember
first
how
grade.
some of that stuff works. When was the last time you had to divide by fractions? I'm just saying, you don't always just remember that stuff off the cuff. The last piece of data that I want to go over is our attendance data. Okay. So 10 or more absences in the state of Washington is considered chronically absent, and it does whether they're excused or unexcused. So that's kind of one of the metrics that is going to be highlighted here. We really want and need students to be attending regularly, because if they aren't here, they aren't getting instruction. If they're not getting instruction, then it's really hard to help them learn, right? We also want students to be connected to the school and build relationships and all of those things. So attendance is a really important metric. And it is definitely one that we want to keep an eye on. Right now, we have 81.4% of our students attending school at 90% or more. That is a metric that we're gonna want to keep our eye on and do some work on improving. So Vice Principal Lomax and I have really started thinking about what systems we need to put in place to start working on attendance district-wide and how we can make sure that our students are coming to school more often and getting more instructional minutes.
So like, what do you do then?
Well, we can connect more with families. We can make sure that we are talking about the importance of attendance. We can make sure that we're talking about the impact of attendance. You know, of course, we want students to stay home when they're not feeling well, but we definitely want them to be here every time that they can be, right? And so we want them to know that their presence is really important. So building relationships can often make a big difference.
Do we have a feel for like, is this a recurring chronic thing, or just, I've noticed at work this year. This season has been probably the worst cold and flu season we've had. You know, that I can remember, just like people getting multiple rounds of getting sick. And I'm wondering if that's impacted at the school level and if it's widespread.
There have been a few, large spread illnesses, but this is an ongoing chronic
Okay,
problem.
that's beyond, that's like,
It's
so that's,
beyond,
that's
it's,
part of this, but there's more, is what you're
Yeah,
saying. I
there's
understand.
more. So looking at some of the historical trends, there's more.
Okay,
Yeah, this is not a 1-year problem.
got it.
So we have 2.3% of our students who are attending less than 80% of the time. It's gonna be really, that's the red, it's very tiny. 16.3% are in the 80s, and then the rest are in the 2 different shades of green. So really, that bright green is 95 or better, like that would be my goal, but like illnesses happen, right? So 90 is kind of like the goal. The more often students are here. The chart down below, which is really tiny, ties attendance rates to graduation, which is a really well-known statistic. So we have 17 students with 10 or more absences. So 17 students out of 43.
And that's so far this year.
So you can kind of see different ways of looking at it where they're at. So just something to keep an eye on. We'll keep tracking it, and we'll start doing more initiatives around attendance to get kids to show up. So that they can have more time learning. That'll be a really big focus in 25, 26 for sure. I think when we look at the PCIe data, it will not look different than this. And I believe that might be the last piece of data, other than why we're doing it.
You said the 17 includes PCIA
No, that's just out of 43.
out of 43.
That's just Mill A data. So when we look at PCIA though, it's not gonna look any different. It's a district-wide problem.
So do students do that star 365? Is that what it was? Huh?
We used
You wanna
Easy
read that
CBM.
one?
We used Easy CBM this year for our reading. It's similar, it's just a different
So it's
program.
pretty close to the same.
Yeah. And just a couple pictures of kids doing cool things and having fun reading them. So,
I assume
that's why
we
you
have
do it.
to report our attendance to the state.
How do we compare to other districts?
Yeah, we're probably on a chart somewhere.
I have not looked, but I can tell you it will be on our school improvement plan. So that is my report, and I would be happy to take any questions or feedback.
Thank you. I think you're doing a good job.
I think they're doing a good job, so.
Any other questions on our data review? Let's move on to is there a rest of a superintendent report?
I have a few other things. I try to keep it
Can I
short.
run to the restroom?
You wanna do?
Sure, let's
Yeah,
take it.
let's do.
Let's take a little break. Argument, we can. Because I tend to agree.
It was over even on this day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're on to the superintendent report.
Well, I imagine you are, can't get enough of my voice, but I will keep it brief. Let's see. So the Chromebooks have arrived.
Okay.
Very excited. So, Curtis from ESD has been here for a few days, and he is working on getting the Chromebook rollout going so that they'll be ready for state testing. It seems to be going pretty well. He's doing a great job, so I'm really pleased with how that project is going. I just want to give the board a little heads up. We had a little issue with our server. Thankfully, Curtis, is on site and has been working to problem solve that, so you may hear grumblings about our internet being intermittent this week due to problems with our server. So of all the weeks for ESD to already be here, this is a good one. Just a update on the OSPI statewide civil rights review. We got our initial report back. There was one finding that we had a couple of words that needed to be changed in procedure 3211, the gender inclusive schools procedure. It was not a policy, it was just a procedure. I went ahead and made that update and resubmitted it for the state. It's waiting for their review, but after that, we should be all set. We had 30 days to make any corrections without any issues. So that was a really great response from the state on that. We also had the Washington School Improvement Framework Accountability Survey that we had submitted a while ago. We are waiting to find out the findings on that. According to a webinar on the 12th that I attended, they were going to notify any school district that would be placed into the status of needing support. They've notified the school on the 12th through the 13th. We were not notified. So the data that we submitted for the accountability for that was the one where, because we were so small, we didn't have enough like SBAC results or anything like that. So we had to submit different metrics to show them that we are making data informed decisions. So the information we submitted satisfied their accountability survey. So that is looking good, which is great because that was a lot of work and I didn't want to have to keep going. So I'm very happy. The safety committee did a full parking lot assessment. So I should have more of a report to bring to the board next month, but a couple of highlights. They identified the need for lights to go over the fuel pump and the garage, the bus garage door. Those are on order. They should be here soon. Barbie, do you know when they're going to be installed?
I don't, I missed the last meeting.
Okay. They're working with the PUD to get that pole replaced. There's some discussion over whose pole it is, but we're gonna work really hard to have it done anyway. The one in the back corner by the fire department, we would like the PUD to have it so that they pay for it, but we're trying to get it done at no or at low cost. And we're just looking to do, to identify any major, safety upgrades that need to happen.
The one with the fire siren on it?
Yeah, they won't, it's been a little bit of a struggle, but we're making progress. And then it came to our attention that there are issues with the lights on the back of the portable are apparently on all night. I was unaware, and so I apologize to our neighbors for not being aware of this because I guess it's been going on for several years. Now that we are aware, we have ordered motion sensor lights. They'll be installed over spring break, so our neighbors will no longer have to have lights shining in their windows from dusk till dawn. So they will only go on if they're set off. So hopefully that makes us better neighbors.
Nice. That's awful. That shows how polite the neighbors are. They didn't want to complain.
Yeah,
It
I'm
doesn't
not
really seem like there's any neighbors that are in direct
Right.
line.
behind that way.
Raft gavers.
Raft Gavers is the only one.
Oh, those on,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, so when you see the backside, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking opposite.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
roadside is the front, and
No.
yeah, okay, yeah.
So we're working hard to make, improvements that make sense, especially exterior of the building, because we should be hearing about where we are on the small modernization grant, soon. I mean, they said spring, so I was really hoping I would have an update for you guys tonight, but I guess I will have an update sometime, hopefully before the next meeting that I can send out or at the next meeting. Hopefully it's really good news. We have been researching different reading curriculums. Just want to let you know that Vice Principal Lomax and I have been looking at them and sharing them with our K-8 teachers and paras. So we will at some point be bringing a reading curriculum for adoption to the board. We had the lock-in, which was a big success. It was a lot of fun. Elijah hit me in the face with a ball. I'm just gonna keep telling that to everyone who will listen. Probably give him an award for it at the end of the year. It was totally an accident, but he was really embarrassed, so I'll just keep spreading that around. It was during, what was the name of the game?
Nitro Ball.
Nitro Ball. If you've ever played that, it's really fun. It's like a cross
Cool.
between volleyball and
Dodgeball.
Pickle.
apparently, I didn't know. You look away for 1 minute and they serve the ball right at your face. No, it's really fun to have a chance to hang out and interact with the students a little bit. I stayed up way past my bedtime until like 10 o'clock, very late.
I say pickle free.
My oldest son came and took on my chaperoning duties. He went the distance. He stayed all night long on my behalf, so he was my pinch hitter, because I was like, there's no way. But it sounds like the students had a really great time, so I'm very thankful to the ASB and the staff for putting that on.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, Friday's my shopping day, so I was over here at Walmart and ran into Seth. He was so excited. They were there getting snacks and he was excited.
it was a great time. Yeah, they had a really good time, so I really appreciate that event. It was very cool. Oh, I have to change my note on here. I reached out to the classified union today because I had not heard back about their contract. Last meeting, we looked at we had recently looked at the TAs. I just got it like late this afternoon. Have not even had a chance to look at it, but we should be ready to move forward once we've had a chance to look at it. I emailed it to you guys, but it was at like 4 o'clock this afternoon or something, so I imagine we've not had a chance to look at it. So, but that is good news that is continuing to move forward. And then lastly, we just need to look at our calendars and pick an April budget workshop, because we are going to need to start meeting more frequently for the budget process, so that we can talk about April will be like enrollment projections, staffing needs and projections and things like that. So we'll be limited on dates that are available just because of my availability and Anita's, but I'm wondering if Wednesday, the 16th works for all of the directors.
April 16th.
Yeah,
April, what day?
Wednesday, the
16th.
16th.
Oh, the Wednesday, the 16th is a good day.
That would work for the directors. That would be great.
You say Wednesday the 16th?
For a budget meeting.
Oh, I'm
At
on June 26th. Sorry.
At 6 PM.
Sure. Yeah,
Sounds good to me.
We're done then.
and then
The
if you guys want, we could
May
look at
6th.
May also,
May 6th,
April.
April 6th.
April
16th.
16th, 1/6
At 6 o'clock.
at 6. And then if you have your May calendars also, I'm wondering if May 7th would work.
May 7th.
Okay, good.
6 o'clock.
All those dates working for everybody?
I think the 16th will work. What is May 7th?
Oh, I can write down what day of the week that
Oh.
is.
Wednesdays are tougher in general. Is the 5th available? Oh, no, May 5th. That's,
Cinco de
Cinco de
Mayo.
Mayo.
No, I'll be busy. Unless you're buying tacos. And then maybe.
ooh, we should have a taco budget session.
We should have a taco budget session.
Well, you know, our budget could be a workshop, it includes snacks. And also if, as we go through the budget meeting, if we decide we need an additional meeting, we can add additional, pick a day then. As well, as long as we get it advertised, so
I have,
people who want to observe can do so.
I have more flexibility that the week of May, if there's a different,
May 7th.
if there's a different day that week that works better. That is also Teacher Appreciation Week. Eric, is the 7th not,
I think it'll be okay.
does that work?
I gotta.
Do we need to do
check
it later? Would 6:30 be better?
Yeah, there's a lot of Wednesdays right around that time of the month where I end up being in Hermiston
Okay.
and then driving back from Hermiston at like leaving there at 4:35. So I'm, I do it once a month though. But it's usually in those first couple weeks and it's when our operations director comes from California.
Well, can we pencil in the 7th and then as we get closer, if we need to adjust it?
Okay.
Okay,
Let's
does
do
that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so pencil it in for the 7th at 6, and then we just know that there's the potential to have to shift that one.
Can I? When you're talking about servers, I don't understand what you're saying.
Oh,
Yeah, me either. Like, what are you using a server for here at school?
well, that's a great question. I am so not going to be able to answer these technical questions. I can probably answer it enough. So this is my understanding, because I, like, remember, I'm the one who needs help, like, turning my computer off sometimes, so. My understanding, help me out here, is like, right, so the internet like comes in, like, all of the information needs someplace to. Like, sit,
Okay.
right?
In iCloud,
Like,
No,
like, you can almost use like this as a server, correct?
so are you talking like a firewall?
Yes, and,
Okay, so the server's typically where you may be storing local files for
Yes.
sharing between staff and that type of, and as things are moving to more just general cloud-based and cloud storage, you can eliminate a lot of that need.
it's not, there are a few things. The size of what we need, my understanding is not going to be as intense as what we've needed in the past. And so, some of the options that, like Amy and the ESD are looking at and getting ready to like give me as far as like to be able to, right,
Right.
present, are definitely smaller, I think, than they have been in the past. As far as like, I know currently we have some pretty significant hardware in there that we aren't going to necessarily need to replace at the same level.
And if certain things aren't, like, if we have to run an accounting program locally that isn't a cloud-based accounting, then you're gonna want server storage for your accounting files and then have those backed up. So any number of those types of things could address.
so you're saying we need a bigger server?
Well, we need to replace what we have, but maybe not with the same size of what we have. And I know that when we were talking about the Chromebooks with the ESD one, they had already mentioned our firewall being the one that we have failing in other places that they were aware of. So this conversation had already started to come up as far as like, hey, this is gonna be something that you're gonna wanna talk about for next year. We just didn't anticipate it happening maybe this week. But I don't have the answer yet.
Are they
So
real expensive?
it's, I mean, it's not going to be like catastrophic.
Was that?
I mean,
It's not gonna break our budget.
it's not gonna.
I
break our
know
budget.
that, but it sounds like it might be up there a little ways.
I don't wanna quote a price because I don't have one to quote.
It could be 2, 7. I've bought things for 70. It's not gonna be a
Yeah.
70 grand here.
I think it's only gonna have 4 digits in it. Yeah. So I don't, I
I
mean,
mean, if we
I,
need it, we need it.
right, I mean, we're not gonna have internet if we don't have one, so we're gonna need one at some point. But we're not gonna get more than we need and we're hopefully not gonna get less than we need, but I don't know what it costs
So we
yet.
were probably virtualizing our firewall on the server as well.
Is that why when you walk in and you're trying to download something on your phone in here and it takes forever?
I think that might have more to do with settings.
See, I don't know nothing about use.
I would, personally, I think the ability to use cell phones here is critical. But, I don't have any clue what it takes to make that work, but we should be able to do Wi-Fi calling. You
Yeah.
use your cell phone here, make cell phone
Oh,
calls
I'm
on
glad
this
I
little
asked you that,
Wi-Fi?
cause I didn't
I
know
think
what
I
you were talking about.
But I could. Right now, I'm not getting, like the last few
I
times I've been
can't.
here,
And it was supposedly fixed for me by somebody.
I'm on.
And that is the end of my report. I think we're on to policy.
Yeah, if you can do it. then-
Okay, so I have just a couple of questions, a couple of things. On the CBA, I took a quick look. And as you're looking at it and we discuss it next week, Kelly will have Kristen. The CBA
Next month.
at our next regular meeting, right,
Right.
next month, in April on the 21st, I believe. Kelly will
I
have
was just hoping I
Kristen,
didn't miss a special meeting.
Yeah. Kelly will have Kristen verify the salary chart because the current one is 2 years old in our current agreement. Apparently, we didn't ever get an updated one or something. So anyway, of course, we never agreed on the 24. So that will verify that those are accurate. The only thing that's totally new in it is section 14.7, a political action committee. And so, didn't come up in negotiation discussions, so I assume that was put in by whoever at the main office that was reviewing this after it left our negotiation sessions, added that, so we'll have to see, maybe somebody can explain that, what that is all about. Other than that, I didn't come up with, I've got a few things highlighted yellow to ask questions, but that's.
I started reading what was online. That, you know, what you said.
This
Yeah,
afternoon.
And I have one question, which maybe you can answer. Why do we refer to like different work shifts in there? It's like this is some company that has 3 shifts a day.
Is there a
It's like-
specific spot that?
Well, it's gotta be just on the first couple pages. I can't remember. I
It
don't have
does say, something about a work week is Monday through Sunday, but then,
No,
it
you
mentions.
know, it's just
We
like,
do have people that work, so like facilities will work different. Like, right, there are times when Tim has to work different times of the day and like,
okay, but he doesn't have a regular shift that's like, day shift. Yeah, it just seems funny that it's in there. If you read it.
yeah, I understand, cause we don't have anyone who's
It
scheduled
sounds
to
like it
be
was
that way.
copied from some other company that, a different type.
I noticed it did not
workplace.
apply to us. Yeah, that's right.
That, it didn't seem to. But I didn't read very far, cause I thought I had just come in and needed to get ready. So. But yeah. So, and we have a chance to bring this up at next time. Get together.
I do know that, some of the conversations that I had that were limited since I came in so late, sometimes it's nice to have things worked out in advance if in other, if it is common at other places for that to happen, right? So like if it is frequently happens and we just aren't doing it yet, to have that in advance of having to work it out on the spot, that also can be kind of nice for us to have that, so.
Didn't see that really happening.
Being
with
very
our district.
applicable at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, there's a couple of little things, one on 14.5, it says that we now will remit the dues via automated clearinghouse, and that is a new phrase. I don't know how we send them in, but I'm sure we are able to
AC,
accommodate
yeah.
that without any problem. There's 3 different phrases used to, one is, the association representative, one is the chapter president, and the one is this kind of exclusive bargaining representative, and so there's like 3 phrases, so. I want to make sure we understood the difference between all those. So I think there's just a few things,
So it's just the entire contract?
Yeah, you now have the contract in its entirety, so please do read over it.
Yeah, it's 24 pages, 26 pages.
Yeah.
26,
And
Yeah.
this, we just got the Schedule A as well, so that will be reviewed. And then we'll be
And
able to
Bill,
take
you
the
and I
next
can't
step.
vote on it.
What did you say?
You and I can't vote on it.
What, and then we'll be able
Oh,
to take the
it's
next
not
step.
you.
Your wife is
She's not you.
it doesn't matter.
Oh.
It's still,
I thought it was a
benefits from
union
it.
thing.
She still is, it still applies to the classified staff arrangement.
there's some pieces that even if the person isn't a member, there's some pieces of it that they're still have protection under.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
and let's see, I think that's it. I'll review policies, okay.
It should be very quick. Yes, so you may have been tracking, there are lots of changes happening between the federal government and the state government. You have no policy really to look at. Because WASDA is recommending that we rescind policy 3206, pregnant and parenting students that we just, if you still have, is it in there? We leave it in there.
If they left it in.
If you left it in there, we approved it at the last meeting. So I don't know that it ever really even made it into the book. The recommendation, due to a lot of the ongoing changes around Title IX is to rescind it. And so my recommendation is that the board follows WASDA's recommendation and we rescind policy 3206.
We probably should have a vote on that,
Do
just
we,
so we can officially take it out of our policy manual.
can we do that with no, on the first time we consider it? With
This
no-
is actually the third reading for that policy. Did we approve it?
We approved it
it,
last time.
but
Okay, so to rescind it, do
I
you,
don't know that answer.
my understanding is that you can just rescind
We can
it.
just rescind, that's
So
right.
I move that we rescind,
Great.
policy 3206.
okay,
Second,
okay, it's been moved and seconded to rescind policy 3206 as requested or recommended by WASDA. Is there any further discussion? Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
said aye too. Now we are on to public comment. Have a couple new people that showed up. Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment?
I do.
There it is.
Okay, Barbie.
So, bus 3, the new bus that was made on Friday the 13th. We had some issues with it a couple weeks ago. I took it down to Western Bus and supposedly fixed it. There's no alarms going off right now, so, they're not really sure what it was. They just rewired this alarm because they figured there was a short in it someplace. And they told me when they came out here to look at it, the short was somewhere between the back of the bus and the front of the bus.
That's a long ways.
Yeah, so we took it into Western Bus and they had it a couple days and maybe a little longer than that. And they just ran a new wire outside of the wiring harness so they could bypass the short wherever it was at. So that was, and now Thursday it goes into White Salmon for a service. And in April, we have our state inspections.
Ooh, okay.
And state inspections, they're dropping one of the brake checks. He said that,
They're dropping what?
one of the brake checks.
Oh,
that you
okay.
Get up to 20 miles an hour and you stomp on the brake, and he said too many state patrolmen, depending on who they're riding with. Some hit the brake really hard and they go behind you, so they're only gonna do the one that you, I think it's 15 miles an hour, you pull the e-brake and then the bus will stop.
So they drive the bus and you,
No, the driver drives, the
so
bus
you
driver.
drive and then
They ride, but
they tell you what to do. Okay.
Yeah, so that's
Interesting.
gonna happen. Thinking April 26th, somewhere around there, I'm not definitely the date. So we'll see.
Well,
They'll-
last year it was flying colors past, right?
Yeah,
Yep, okay.
so we're, they'll do the Suburban and bus 1 and bus 3. And hopefully they pass again.
Sure they will.
Cool. Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Well, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. We will move on to old business, new business, or good for the order. And one of the things I wanted to do by law, we're required to do a superintendent evaluation. And so I, of course, I did a notebook for everybody. You know, me and notebooks. So this is to take home, and then we will have our first discussion at the next meeting.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And I just gonna quickly go over what's in here. If you, as you know, it's, Kelly's not hardly been here. Maybe half a year, I guess. And so but it will help us learn as we go through this. It has a copy of our contract as well as the addendum to her contract. It has a copy of the law stating the superintendent duties. And the only one that really addresses principles. Then it has a copy of her goals, and that's a clean copy. And behind the clean copy is what might look like a messy copy. That's because I took those 2 columns, made them smaller so you could write comments on the side. And so, you know, those goals were just established, so it really won't be evaluating the success of those goals. But any comments you might have or questions on how those goals are coming along and what they're doing is something we might discuss. Then the next page is a 1-page evaluation chart that is a standard one from WASDA that you can use. And I'm hoping this will just stimulate conversation because at this point, you know, we really can't do the full normal evaluation. So behind the 1-page chart is a longer one that also came from WASA. And I kind of modified it so there's a place where you could rate from 1 to 10 on that. And the very last thing is something that we can discuss after the evaluation and as part of the budget is the compensation. This is a phrase that I haven't looked up yet, but it's a phrase that was given to us last year from the former superintendent. So exactly how it applies is, I think, up to us, but I'll verify whether or not we have a policy that says that. So that's really all there is in there. If you need more information, just send me an email. Otherwise, we will have an informal conversation at our next meeting. And move forward in however we choose to move forward.
Not the April 16th, but the April 21st, the regular meeting?
Yes, the regular meeting, which is Monday, April 21st.
Okay.
Right.
Please let me know if you need any information on the goals or any artifacts or any clarification.
So I'm also going to give Kelly a copy of this because I do want it, I'm hoping that you will agree that a good interactive conversation will take place to help us really kind of establish for the next year and the remaining couple of months of this year. Okay. Thank you very much for that. It's we are mandated to do that. In addition, we have to kind of document any decision or results that we came up with, because those, I believe, have to be made available, they should be requested by the state or somebody like that, I don't know, can't remember exactly, but. So that's kind of important. I did wanna say, how was the pancake breakfast? I wasn't able to go. Did the PTO have a great event with? Was it a success? All right.
Yeah, it was a good event.
It was good. I
Yeah.
didn't know, I didn't hear any
Lots,
results.
lots of
Attendance
pancakes
wise,
and sausage and.
Naomi said there was about a third of the attendance that they had last year.
wow.
But you also have to realize, there was a parade in Carson
Oh,
that same day, it was the day after lock-in, so.
Oh.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
St.
that's why
Patrick's
stuff
Day
was
parade.
sleeping.
in
Yeah,
Clemson,
we were
too,
all sleeping,
at the same time.
oh.
and it was Mr. Bulldog and Stevenson that night, so.
I came an hour late and the cafeteria was full, a bunch of people home.
Yeah.
Desserts.
I was out of town, so I didn't get to attend.
it was
but
good.
I already bought a leftover.
Yeah.
And it was, considering the price of eggs.
Yeah.
And there aren't very many plants left in the hallway, which I'm glad to
Really?
see.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, there are plants, but not compared to as many as that were out there for sale, I don't think.
They're gonna be available throughout the week for conferences, so if you are interested in purchasing a plant, they will be here.
I did my part. I
If
bought
you
one.
are interested in purchasing more plants, they will be here and for sale.
There's goodies there too. I
Yeah,
don't
there's
see any
goodies.
sign that says, 5-day-old goodies with a discounted price,
No
but my
discount.
brownie is pretty
Might not
darn
want
good.
No discounts, it's for the kids.
It all goes to
Did you really?
good.
Yeah, I
Does anybody have anything else for the good of the order before we move on to action items?
I thought we were going to. Oh,
Yeah.
that's action items.
Except the retirement.
Okay, let's go on to 9A, which is a staff member retirement.
Um, Candy Giles has submitted her letter of intent to retire at the end of this school year. I didn't print, I don't know, copies for everyone, but I'd be happy to pass it around. She is interested in possibly working like projects with the school going forward, but she is ready to take on a more how does she word it? It's really very very nice. She's looking to take on more like a naturalist type of work environment. So she is expressed gratitude over her time at Mill A and has really enjoyed her time. She's interested in doing naturalist focused work, like building greenhouses, farm to school projects, healthy art studio practices, collaborative cross curriculum, and things like that. And so I think that that would be a really great next step for her. I'm very excited for her to take that that step in her life. I think that, we will miss her tremendously. Students will miss her tremendously. But I would, highly recommend that the board goes ahead and accepts her.
So I have a question that in our supplemental contract, do teachers work one day after the last day that students are here?
Yes,
That's a classroom cleanup day or
Yeah.
something, so her last day would be.
she would finish out that
She
supplemental,
would
yeah.
finish that out.
We've talked about, her transition and she's wanting to make sure that the transition process is smooth and she'll do whatever she needs to do to make sure that the school is in a good position to move forward with our arts department. So
All the.
Her goals sound awesome.
I believe this is her second year. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah, her goals sound really cool.
Yeah, so I think she will probably be a face that we would see back for special projects, and I don't think that she will not be around. I just think that she would be around in a very different capacity, but she sounds like she's got some really great things planned. I know that she does a lot of other things in the community too. She teaches art classes and things like that, so students will still.
Did we put her on the sub list?
I bet we can, I bet we can, so we will definitely miss her.
There'd be no reason not to accept this, right? Or is there's no impact for now, except that.
No, we wouldn't. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited for her to take on these projects that she's kind of dreaming about. And I really appreciate her willingness to submit it early to help us be in a good position to take the steps we need to take to be ready for next year.
Does that require board action?
I think we need
need
to
a motion.
move to accept.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's staffing
Yeah, I move to accept, that we accept her resignation and thank her for her
retirement.
her retirement, sorry.
I said,
And we thank her as the board for her service to the district.
Okay, it's been moved to accept the resignation.
Retirement.
Thank her and recognize what she's done for us, and congratulations on her retirement. Is there a second?
right here.
Oh, thank you, Bill. Okay, is there any further question or discussion? All right, it's moved. Congratulations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's moved, and congratulations to Kendi. What a wonderful thing.
And I have her letter here, and I would like to read.
Let's see, was that budget dates? All right, so the board will be moving into an executive session. And I'm guessing 30 minutes, 45-minute executive session. It's the last thing on our agenda because we didn't want you to have to stay out in the hall for a long period of time if you didn't choose to. So now you've been able to observe the entire meeting. You're welcome to come back in 45 minutes. There's treats at the end of the hall.
But you're saying you come back to like watch us.
Watch us say goodnight.
So we're back in public session. Is there anything else good for the order? If not, our next meeting is, our next regular meeting is April 21st, which is a Monday at 6 p.m. That will follow with 2 budget sessions that we already set up. So if there's no more questions or comments, shall we adjourn by consensus? Does that sound good? Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And you got my